Welcome to The Fight on Matrix Midwest with Randy Carricker and company.
Hi kids, welcome to The Fight. Great to have you with us. That is Andrew and I'm Randy, and coming up, USA Hockey are the kings of the world. USA. Also, did Jordan Binnington increase his trade value during the Olympics? And the Cardinals get good starts for their start to spring training, and they'll make that start even better today because they're on Matrix Midwest right here at noon against the Marlins. But let's get things started with our quick hits. And there is one unifying force in America, and it's not politics, it's not religion, it's not celebrities, it's sports. And yesterday in Milan, the USA men's hockey team did their best to bring the country together when they beat Canada in the gold medal game at the Olympics. Jack Hughes scored the golden goal, 141 into overtime, and his reaction to winning on NBC was priceless.
It's all about our country right now. I love the USA. I love my teammates. It's unbelievable. The USA Hockey Brotherhood is so strong, and we have so much support from ex-players. I'm so proud to be American today.
Just great to hear that, and that's a unifying comment from Jack Hughes. Obviously, Matthew and Brady Tkachuk were all about St. Louis, along with Clayton Keller. It was just an overall great tournament for the USA, and we talked about it. Has the USA passed Canada? Well, at the very least, they've caught up to them. And then there you see Jordan Binnington and Colton Parayko from the just devastating Canadian team.
Yeah, they definitely caught up to them. I don't know if they surpassed Canada just yet, but they're neck and neck now, and you can even look at that on the women's side too. That with the USA winning in commanding fashion against Canada, and I say that because they won 5-0 earlier on in that series, and then they ended up winning in that overtime. But also now watching the men do it, it kind of just felt like, oh, we can breathe now. You know, you kind of sucked in and you held that in since Lake Placid, and you could finally exhale now because 46 years later, the U.S. were able to say, hey, we're back and better than ever.
And by the way, Connor Hellebuck winning a big game. Good for him. Now he is an American going back to Canada. Jordan Binnington, a Canadian, coming back to play for his American team. But it was a great Olympic tournament, and we can use more of this. We can use more Four Nations type things.
And isn't it funny how in the Four Nations, Jordan Binnington goes to Canada, and everybody forgets about 2019. They're like, even if he beat our Canadian teams, we love Jordan Binnington. It's the same for like Blues fans here in St. Louis. Connor Hellebuck was loved by St. Louis yesterday, even though we know what happened last season when the Blues fell to the Winnipeg Jets.
It was quite a basketball weekend. The only local team to come away with a college win was SLU. The Billikens staged a 21-2 run midway through the second half and beat VCU 88-75. Kellen Thames scored the first 7 points of that run, and the game went from a 57-49 VCU lead to a 70-59 SLU lead in a blink. The Billikens swept VCU as Josh Schertz's team tries to slay the Dragons of the A-10.
Yeah, this was a slow start for this group.
I mean, it's VCU's and Dayton. I think in the Atlantic 10, when you come in, you always look at a league. When I got to Indiana State, there was no question. It was like Northern Iowa, Drake. When I first got there, Loyola. There was programs that kind of set the standard. And when you come to the A10, there's no question that you don't have to look far. And it's VCU and Dayton. Their track record of success, the history. And so to come in, and I think is that now is it 3 in a row that we beat them? Is that right? Yeah. So 3 times in a row. For us to do that doesn't mean we've caught them by any stretch. That's not but it is that we're striving to get up where they are. But what makes VCU, what makes Dayton is consistent high level performance. Over time.
And the Billikens are trying to build that program, and Schertz is going to be a big part of that.
They need to have a better first half, though. As you get closer to the tournament, you need to be better in the first half. I love the fact
they were up by 15.
Well,
they were up by 20 late in the game.
Well, yeah, and late in the game, for sure. They had a great second half, but you were trailing by 9 points in the first half. I'd like to see more production out of this group so that you put yourself in better position. Basketball's a game of runs.
Yeah,
we know
it's hard
that.
to win by 20.
No, 100%. But it's also hard to expect you to go on a 21-2 run on any given night. It was good for SLU in this fact that they were able to do that, but then they also allowed VCU to catch back up before they went on another run that was about like 12-3. So it's nice seeing them string these things together. You just want to see them get out in front more so you don't put yourself behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, 24-2. I'm a believer now. I've seen them do it too many times.
No, I'm for sure. I've been a believer in this team, but as you get closer to the tournament, you're going to face teams that are much better than you in the A-10.
The Cardinals started spring training this weekend. On Saturday, Matthew Liberatore went 2 strong innings in his first start. No runs, 4 strikeouts. Ryan Fernandez did have a rough first outing, allowing 4 runs on 2 walks and 2 hits in 2/3 of an inning. Then yesterday, Kyle Leahy was strong in his first start of the spring. Couple of innings, 3 strikeouts. Thomas Sajacy played short and had an RBI. Sajacy's going to play some outfield soon. Maybe today. The Cardinals signed Ramon Urias over the weekend, so maybe Sajacy becomes Tommy Edman. How do you like the way I say Urias?
I love it.
Thank you.
I also think we have to trade Sajacy to the Dodgers if he becomes Tommy Edman.
Yeah, there you go. But no, I like Thomas Sajacy in that role. I don't think that he has the power to play third base every day. He's not going to supplant either J.J. Weatherholt or Mason Wynn. So this is his best opportunity to play a lot.
Yeah, be Mr. Versatile, Mr. Utility for this team. You mentioned Ryan Fernandez. Not great for me, who said I'm ready to see Ryan Fernandez bounce back. But did you notice the pitchers that gave up runs in the first 2 spring training games? What happened with them? They walked guys.
Mm-hmm.
They gave people free passes. Every pitcher that went in, there were 4 guys that gave up runs over the weekend. All 4 of them walked, I think, 2 batters, and one of them walked 3 at one point in time. You have to make sure you can get out and not give free passes away.
And today is a big day here at Matrix Midwest. Cardinals spring training baseball at noon. The first of 8 spring training games that will be televised right here. Football, there you go. And we have home plate. And don't forget, during the season, we're going to have this thing called fastball. Every day after a game, we're going to have a 1-hour condensed version of the previous day's game. It'll air at noon and 4 p.m. right before us here in the fight. The 4 o'clock show will. So you want to tune in for that, and you can watch Cardinal baseball free here on Matrix Midwest. The Seattle Seahawks, unconventional yet successful 2-point conversion against the Rams in Week 16, wound up being one of the most consequential plays of the season. And sources told CBS Sports the Rams are planning to propose a rule change that would effectively make the play an unsuccessful 2-point try. On this play, if you remember it, a lateral hit off the head of Rams defensive lineman Jared Verse. You're going to see it right here. It appears the play is dead, but Zach Charbonnet of Seattle picks the ball up nonchalantly, and then after a minute, the NFL called for a review and gave Seattle the 2 points. That's the easiest 2 points he'll ever get, isn't it? Unbelievable. Don't know how the Rams would word a rule change, but it was good for us in 2025 because the Rams lost.
Yeah, and it's funny because it seems like there's always bylaws on top of bylaws, on top of new rules and this, that, and the other. And yeah, I'm sure the NFL will find some way to say, okay, if this were to happen, then the ball goes back to the spot where Sam Darnold first threw the football or whatever, because they say, well, Zach Charbonnet didn't go after and run on top of the football and think, oh, he was going to get the 2-point conversion. He was just picking it up to hand it back to the official. Yeah, but guess what? Anybody could have picked up that football. The Rams could have picked up that football and ran it the other way.
Yeah.
And then gotten points themselves. So something will happen from this, but yeah, you're right. I love the fact that it happened to the LA Rams.
I've been watching football since 1970. So what, 56 years?
Yeah,
I've never seen that play. I don't think they need to put a new rule in. And nobody's ever seen that play before. I don't think they really need to worry about it.
Yeah, but somebody will create a rule just to make somebody else happy.
The Blues return from the Olympic break on Thursday, and then the NHL trading deadline is a week from Friday. How much did the narrative surrounding a trade of Jordan Binnington change at the Olympics? He had them in the gold medal game, Canada, with a save percentage of .917 and a goals against of 1.78. But how many teams in the playoff hunt really need a goalie? And how much cap space do they have? And how much are they willing to give up to get Binnington from the Blues? A couple of teams in playoff position are in the bottom 10 of goals against. Anaheim, Montreal, Edmonton's there, but they have Tristan Jarry and they don't have enough cap space. Could you see Binner with either Anaheim or Montreal?
No, I really can't. And, it's funny because the question that you kind of presented off the rip in terms of increased value, right? Has he increased his value? I think Binnington more just reminded people of his value and what he can bring to you in the biggest stages of a hockey game. But you look at, it's Lucas Dostal, right, who is the goalie in Anaheim. He obviously represented his team in the Olympics, and I don't even think I can tell you the goalie in Montreal. Is Montembeault still there?
Yeah, Montembeault.
Yeah. So, and he's a good goalie. Like, he obviously was there in the Four Nations face-off last year. So, in general, you look at what you have and say, is it worth all of this just to bring Jordan Binnington here? And I don't think a lot of teams are going to rest with saying yes to that.
Well, and if I'm the Blues, I'm asking for a number one. I'm asking for the same sort of package that the Blues gave up for Ryan Miller back in 2014. That includes a number one and a prospect, and then you could probably get a Montembeault back, and you'd have to take Patrick Laine and his contract for the rest of this season back too to make it work under the cap. I don't think Binnington is going anywhere. I'm like you. Later in the show, you can participate in some risky business. All you need to do is join us. We're going to put together a little parlay, and we've got a really exciting parlay for you today.
Well,
a sport that we don't normally talk about here in the fight, but we're going to have it. Coming up next, though, our weekend highlights here in the fight. Time now for our takes on the weekend in the sports world, and we're going to start with a couple of other notes from the Olympics that wrapped up yesterday. First of all, it was great, amazing, incredible, classy to see the USA hockey team honor the memory of the late Johnny Gaudreau by displaying his USA jersey in their dressing room and then bringing it to the ice for the celebration, and then having his kids on the ice with them for the official team photo. And his former teammate, there he is, St. Louis and Matthew Tkachuk, they were teammates with the Flames. They were fantastic in honoring Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah, they moved me to tears. I mean, honestly, watching them go to the boards to grab both of his kids to be present in that photo is not even just class, it's just major respect to Team USA and honoring the legacy of Johnny Gaudreau. They've done such a great job. There's his family right there, right in the middle, mom and dad, and his wife was featured there at one point. And also right here, this was cool too. I think that was kind of an overlooked moment. Matthew Tkachuk picking up the American flag off the ice. Like, there's just like little things that these guys definitely stand for what they're wearing, and I think that separates hockey amongst other sports.
Yeah, and the way that the Tkachuk brothers kept talking about St. Louis and how important it was, saying, hey, don't just wear red, white, and blue in St. Louis for tomorrow. Wear it for the next month. And they're excited about getting back here to O.B. Clark's, and they're excited about being able to bring their gold medals to St. Louis as Matthew has brought the Stanley Cup here.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people are excited to see all of those things in person because they love the Tkachuks here.
American Eileen Gu, who participated for China because her mom is from China, won 6 medals. She was one of the most decorated athletes at this Olympics. She won a gold and 2 silvers in free skiing events, and now she has 6 in her career. She is sensational.
She caused quite the stir on social media, too.
Oh, yeah.
Just in general, there's a lot of Americans that are pretty 50-50 on support versus like the non-loyalty factor with her. But yeah, she definitely is very decorated. I mean, she wins medals left and right, and she's a very talented skier.
And she says she wants to forge her own path, and she wants to honor her mother's legacy and her mother's history. And so she is. And she said she's skiing for people. She's not skiing for and herself, but she's skiing for her family, and she's skiing for people and not necessarily a government.
Right. Well, and I think the same can be said for Alyssa Liu, right? Same situation, just chose to represent the United States, and she stands for the loyalty of this country as well. It was actually really cool to watch her do that in skating as well, win the gold medal.
Yep. College basketball, a tough Saturday for Mizzou. They hung with number 20 Arkansas for about 34 minutes. They were within 5 with 6.5 minutes left, but from that point on, the Hogs built that lead to 14 points with 2 minutes to go, and Arkansas rolled 94-86 over the Tigers. That's a cruncher for Mizzou.
It was, but it also being the road game of this series didn't bother me all too much. I kind of figured Arkansas would get this W. It's important for Mizzou now to get this on their home floor. You know what Arkansas presents. They're a very fast team. They're very big and strong. They're well coached. But how can you be different now when you come back to Columbia? That's going to be a statement win for this team. If they get that, they'll be in the tournament.
Meanwhile, Illinois had a 23-point lead midway through the first half, but UCLA took them to OT and beat the Illini in OT on Saturday night in LA. The Illini still ranked fourth in the net rankings and fourth in KenPom. They've earned a lot of respect, but it's been a rough about 10 days for the Illini.
Yeah, and UCLA is a very good defensive team. Going into their last matchup where Cronin kicked out his own player, I was like, this UCLA team's really good. And then I watched them play Michigan State, and I'm like, maybe they're not as good as I thought. And then I watch them play Illinois, and I'm like, no, they are as good defensively as I thought. Illinois needs to find ways to win these type of basketball games.
So Illinois, fourth in KenPom, fourth in net. Mizzou, number 60 in KenPom, or in the net, 52 in the KenPom. What?
That can't, right there.
Oh, yeah.
That game winner.
Oh, yeah.
That just can't happen.
No. And SLU, number 22 in the net, 24th in the KenPom at the moment. Soccer, St. Louis City SC turned in a dominant performance in their 2026 opener at Energizer Park over the weekend. City had 22 shot attempts to 8 for Charlotte and won the shots on goal battle 8-3. That did not happen early last season. Marcel Hartel had a goal to give City the lead in the 60th minute. Charlotte tied it in the 73rd. And City, even though it was a draw, I thought it was a great first match for City.
Absolutely. Yeah, you take that if you're St. Louis, especially coming off of last season. You know how difficult it is and how bruising the MLS season can be for you. But ties are just as important as wins. They're much better than losses. We took too many L's here in St. Louis last season. And seeing Marcel Hartel already step up and kind of be that next big face for this team now that Klaus is gone is another a great step in the right direction for this group.
And by the way, it took Charlotte a spectacular play with about 5 passes to score their goal in the 73rd minute. It was heartbreaking, but it does give you belief that this can be a really good year for St. Louis City SC.
Well, and we talked with Jen Cease last week, and she had mentioned how it might take some time for this team to really start gelling. The team chemistry is not just marinated overnight, and then all of a sudden it's just here in game one. It's going to take this group a little bit of time to kind of know how everybody moves, ticks, and talks, and also, as they're led by a new leadership group, what that kind of looks like as well as the season progresses.
City plays at San Diego next Sunday. Golf, Jacob Bridgman hung on for his, and he did hang on for his first PGA Tour win yesterday at the Genesis Invitational in LA. Bridgman birdied 3 of the first 4 holes, but only had pars and 3 bogeys in his last 15. Kurt Kitayama, who had a great day, and Rory McIlroy tied for second, 1 shot back, but congratulations to Jacob Bridgman. 4 years on the tour, and he was obviously very emotional in winning his first tour event.
Who's been very close to winning in recent weeks as well, too. He's been climbing that leaderboard, and he's always kind of been around. You saw his name up there at the top, and you're right. I mean, he definitely hung on barely, because this is someone that didn't shoot. Typically, when you see the winner of a golf event, they don't shoot one over on Sunday.
Right.
And this is what Bridgman did, and he found a way to get it done in the end. And, yeah, holding off a guy like Rory McIlroy, is the big name of that group in Tier 2, is a pretty big moment for him.
Yeah, and here's another thing. You get up today and you check the leaderboard for the FedEx Cup standings, and there he is, right at the top. Jacob Bridgman is the FedEx Cup points leader. Oh yeah, we had that at the end of February, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and then you see Scotty Scheffler again on day one, Randy, not performing well. That's the 3rd week in a row we've seen Scotty below the projected cut line on day one, and he had to work his way back, and he did. He worked his way all the way back to top 12 in this one, but if Scotty wants to see himself win again, he's got to stop ending in the plus side of things on day one.
And the other part of it is he needs to pacify this guy who had him in our parlay.
That's really the big
top
thing.
10. Really, that's what it's all about, right?
That's what I'm most mad about. Yeah, it's not about really Scotty not performing up to his level that I know he can perform at. It's not meeting my personal expectations for him when I put my hard-earned $5 down on him to finish top 10.
By the way, not that he's not trying to win. I'm not saying that's the case.
By no means.
But I do think that, and Tiger Woods did this too, players build up to the Masters in April. And this early part of the season, the Hawaii, California, I don't know that they really can, Arizona obviously with the WM Open, I don't know that the big time players really concern themselves. And the Genesis is a big event, it's Tiger's event, but I don't know that players really concern themselves with the results until they get to the Masters.
It really is amazing what winning and expectation can do to the fan. When you see somebody win consistently like we do from Scottie Scheffler last season especially, the expectation is he should win every single time. And when he doesn't win, you can finish top 10, top 5. We've seen that. We've seen him, get close, and he lost by like a stroke or two just a couple of weeks ago. And him not winning that event, it's like, man, Scottie Scheffler's kind of losing it a little bit. And it's like, wait a second, let's take a step back here. He's still Scottie Scheffler at the end of the day.
Pretty good. All right, those are our weekend highlights. Coming up, we've got the list, and with the USA winning a couple of overtime championship gold medal games, we're going to give you our favorite overtime hockey goals here in The Fight. Congratulations to the USA men's and women's hockey teams. They both beat Canada. Both games were in overtime and were spectacular overtime goals. So our list this morning, the greatest game-winning overtime goals ever. And I'm going to start with one right here in St. Louis. It was the Monday Night Miracle, one of the most iconic games in Blues history still, even though they won a Stanley Cup. Back in 1986, down 5-2 in the third period, the Blues rallied and they sent it to overtime. And what happened? The former first overall pick of the Canadiens won it.
Durko too far. Durko steals the puck from Reinhart. Over to Hunter, who shoots, block. Wickenheiser scores! Doug Wickenheiser! The Blues pull it off, and it's unbelievable. There'll be a seventh game.
That was such an incredible night, and for 52 years, that was the biggest highlight in Blues history. It came in a series that they lost. But Wickenheiser, with that overtime winner, one of the most memorable overtime goals in the history of St. Louis hockey.
For 52 years, the name Doug Wickenheiser was the name that came with the Blues' greatest moment. Like, just put that in perspective for a moment. Not Brett Hull, right? Not Bernie Federko, but Doug Wickenheiser is the name that corresponds with all of that. Wow, what a moment.
Yeah, and he should have been, well, he was, like I said, first overall pick of the Canadiens, wrong place, wrong time, and then the Blues trade Perry Turnbull to get him here, and he was just on his way. He was still a really young player when he scored that goal, and then within a year, the Blues were out on a snipe hunt out in rural Missouri. He fell off the back of a pickup truck and tore up his knee and was really never the same after that, and then tragically died of cancer before he turned 40 years old.
And for those that don't know, that highlight right there is our directors, or at least one of our directors, one of his favorites ever. And we probably hear Wickenheiser scores once a day as we come in, because he just loves that line. And here he goes in our ear right now. All right, my number 3. My favorite Blues player growing up was Pierre Turgeon. Looking back, my fandom was more assigned, though, Randy, than it was chosen. My parents bought me one of his T-shirt jerseys, and the rest is history. I loved the guy. And I know a lot of other St. Louisans loved him, too, for doing things like this.
By Hobby Bullen as Hanzus is taken down. Young centers, Pearson, the shot, he scores! Oh, baby, bring on Brett Hull and the Dallas Stars! Ricard Pearson wins it! It may have been deflected, but the Blues have the
OT winner in Game 7. Pierre Turgeon, the goal scorer there, everybody first thought it was Pearson, but it was not. It was tipped in by Turgeon, and it just doesn't get any better than that. Watching him celebrate, I love when hockey players jump up and down in skates. I think it's the funniest thing, and he did that after scoring that goal.
Oh, by the way, and we'll see it again, how about the idea of going to the net? Isn't that an interesting concept of even a guy who's not a big guy, Pierre Turgeon, he's not tiny, but he wasn't the biggest guy in the world, isn't the biggest guy in the world. But how about the idea of going to the net and getting in front of the goalie's eyes and tipping a puck past him? I think that was a pretty cool thing. Now, and like you said, the celebration is the best when you win Game 7 in OT. Here we go. So
that's so hard to do, too.
Yeah.
Tipping in from that close. Watch how close he is to his teammate here when he tips this puck in. It's honestly amazing.
Yep.
They're both in the circle.
And
they're both in the circle.
There you go. Boom. Yep. There you go.
That's an amazing tip in.
That was fantastic. And then the jumping.
The
for
double
number 77,
jumps.
It was great. That was awesome. All right. My number 2, and this might be controversial in our town, but it's Pat Maroon. One of the biggest goals in St. Louis history. May 7th. Game 7, number 7. Here we go.
Blues face 53 shots. Blues control. This is Thomas. Thomas shoots. It's behind the net. It's not getting by Maroon.
And we'll hear Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale here in a moment. There we go.
Pat Maroon, bring out the Zamboni. Pat Maroon just put the city on his shoulders, and he sends them to the conference finals. A 2-1 win in double overtime over the Dallas Stars. Pat Maroon on May 7th, Game 7. He's number 7, and it's the towel man, Pat Maroon, the hero. He grew up in Oakville, and this is what he's dreamt about ever since playing floor hockey in his garage. A terrific face-off win by Tyler Bozak. Robert Thomas takes it, drags it, makes an incredible one-on-one move, throws it at the net. Ben Bishop gets a piece. It's sitting right behind him, and the big rig cleans up the trash, and he sends the Blues off to the Western Conference Final.
Certainly the biggest in St. Louis history, right? And yeah. And how about Joey? Yeah. Game 7, May 7th, number 7. It was just a spectacular night, and I have goosebumps right now.
And it's all the descriptions, right? It's the big rig taking out the trash. It's what you dream about as a kid playing floor hockey in your garage. And everybody can relate to that because whether it's hockey, whether it's basketball, we've all been standing by ourselves playing that sport and counting down in our head, 3, 2, 1 to hit the game-winning shot or score the game-winning goal. And that's what he's describing to fans at home. It was just kind of like the perfect embodiment of that entire play right there.
And you saw Maroon go over and hug Craig Berube. And a couple of weeks ago, I had the honor of interviewing Pat Maroon as he went into the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame, and we talked about the rough start. And Doug Armstrong had put him on waivers. Doug Armstrong called him up and said, hey, things just aren't happening. We're going to put you on waivers. And remember, it was big rig bobblehead night, and they were going to keep him around until the bobblehead night, and then he was going to be gone. And then all of a sudden things turned for the Blues. You get that 11-game winning streak going, and he winds up being the hero. But the Blues don't win the Stanley Cup if they don't keep him around.
And how about scoring that goal against a St. Louis in Ben Bishop?
And one of the great photos of all time is those two shaking hands with the St. Louis flag in the background.
Yeah, that is... Again, we talked about growing the game in St. Louis. Even in 2019, that helped grow the game
Absolutely, no doubt. And now, with what's happened over the course of the last couple of weeks with the Tkachuk brothers and Clayton Keller, I think it'll grow even more.
Absolutely. A core memory of mine, Randy. Watching Jonathan quickly lose the puck behind his own net to Alex Steen.
He gets in there, pass across, smashed back down by Pietrangelo. Both Brown and Carter led the club with 8 power play goals. Stop! Oh, my God! The Blues a short-handed goal to win it! Alexander Steen! Goodbye, good night, game over!
Okay, 2 things. I think we tend to forget this was shorthanded. This was a shorthanded goal. And the other is, as a broadcaster, as a play-by-play broadcaster, I always hated when the color guy would jump in over your moment. But that right there, hearing Panger go, yes! Like, that was the reaction of everybody at home when they saw Alex Steen steal that puck. I loved his insertion there, and then the Holy jumping, and then John Kelly picking it right back up with his excitement. They were the perfect tandem on TV. It's a shame that we don't get to keep hearing them today because Panger went to Chicago. Now John Kelly, of course, out in LA. But that tandem was incredible for runs like this.
And that's one series that the Blues should have won, because you have Steen and Jackman in back-to-back games. You have a 2-0 lead in the series, and you just let the Kings get back into it, and the Blues wound up losing the series. But that was a classic overtime goal.
And you mentioned Pierre Turgeon getting to the front of the net. Let's also mention Alex Steen's hustle here, just going there to get the puck. Most guys would just kind of sit at the blue line and wait for the play to develop so that they can backtrack on defense. Not Steen. He went to attack, and he benefited from it.
All right, for my number one, I'm willing to go with a little recency bias. Megan Keller. This one from last week, the USA and Canada women. The U.S. women dominated until this game, but now they went to overtime tied at 1.
As Canada gets fresh skaters on the ice. The outlet pass for Keller, a defenseman. Nice move, cuts to the net, score! Megan Keller, the overtime hero, the United States, wins gold in Milan.
What an incredible move by Megan Keller, and what a great win for the USA women. They were sensational, and she to win it that way. And as Kenny Albert said, a defenseman making that move to score the game-winning goal.
Yeah, I think defensemen in today's game are just as good as forwards. I mean, we see it in the NHL. We see it now here at the highest stage on the women's side of things. Megan Keller, what a move. Great stick handling, and that is the beauty of 3v3 overtime. You can get a little more creative and play some one-on-one hockey, and she made Canada pay. It was a big moment for Team USA.
And that program, and we're going to see the men in a moment, but that program is absolutely dominant. The USA women's program, they have passed Canada, and they're way better, not way better, but they're substantially better than Canada is right now. Women's hockey in the U.S. is the best in the world.
And it was really cool to see Hillary Knight, before that moment, get the goal that gave her the U.S. all-time record and all-time points record. She's easily the greatest American to ever play the game. She's in the running for greatest ever to play the game on the women's side.
And congratulations to Joy Dunn from O'Fallon, a Lady Blue who's bringing home gold for being on that team.
All right, let's talk about the men now. It took 46 years to get the moment our nation desperately wanted and needed. The U.S. finally overcoming the rest to get the gold, and amazingly, it happened on the same day the boys from Lake Placid got their gold.
Here's McDavid moving it on Jack Hughes, tries to slow him down, puck flies up behind the net. And it's Werenski. Now Jack Hughes puts it around the car. United States with numbers. Blocked across it comes. Jack Hughes wins it. The golden goal for the United States.
After losing teeth earlier, going to the box at regulation, the penalty box, and then scoring the OT winner, as a friend of mine texted me, it was always Jack Hughes. He'll never have to buy a beer in this country again.
No, and a couple of great families, right? With Quinn Hughes scoring an overtime game winner earlier in these Olympics, and then Jack Hughes scoring that overtime game winner, and of course the Kachuk brothers here. And it's amazing. Those guys are from Orlando, and they're performing in the Olympics for the United States. And yeah, I feel bad for you, Canada. It was great to see, and what a great representative, not him, just him, but what great representatives of our country those young men are.
Well, and I saw some people even before the Olympics wanting to know why Jack Hughes was on the team, and they thought that it was a little of internal politics of, well, Quinn is there, so Jack needs to be there too. Cole Caulfield's had a better season than Jack Hughes. Why isn't he there? Well, hey, Jack Hughes had everybody do this. They got quiet real fast when he scored that game winner.
And these are such big time. You know, there are some great ones. We left out the Alec Martinez Stanley Cup winner for the Kings. We left out Brett Hull's Stanley Cup winner for, and it may or may not have been a goal, for the Stars against Buffalo. There have been some other great overtime and a lot of playoff overtime goals that were epic in the history of the sport.
And it's those moments that we just remember, though, right? Middle of the season overtime games, It's the big moment games that just stick with you, and we just gave them to you.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, it seems like USA Hockey has at the very least caught up. They're on an even playing field now with Canada. All right, that is the list. Next up, we've got a parlay for you. Risky business coming your way here in the fight. Hey, how are you feeling this morning? You know, I've had a cold for a couple of weeks, and last week reached out to my doctor at St. Luke's, Dr. Fritz, and he took care of me. There's a lot of illness going around our town right now, and if you need a primary doctor, you should call St. Luke's or hop on the web and find someone at St. Luke's that can make you feel better. The doctors there are the best, and I have all of my medical care there at St. Luke's, and they're proud to share that 67 St. Luke's physicians have been named to St. Louis Magazine's 2025 Top Doctors list as selected by Castle Connolly's physician-led research team. This honor highlights the clinical excellence and whole person care that St. Luke's doctors provide every day across a broad range of specialties from cardiology, oncology, surgery to pediatrics, internal medicine, and more. For heart health, cancer care, your overall general health, St. Luke's will provide that for you. Get in touch with them. All you need to do is hop on the web and go to stlukes-stl.com. All right, we're going to build a parlay for you. And Andrew, as you know, I've been working hard on learning my table tennis lately.
You have.
And so I am going to go with table tennis elite action coming up later this morning. My guy, Bartosz Solkowski, is taking on Peter Safranek, okay? Bartosz is going to win this, but he's plus 120. I can't believe these odds. So Bartosz Solkowski to beat Peter Safranek in table tennis, plus 120, and I think they'll let us do a parlay on this.
You can't believe those odds, huh,
I
Randy?
can't believe it.
All right, let's go back to a sport that I know a little bit more about than table tennis.
Okay.
I'm going to go to college basketball tonight, Randy, and Louisville is taking on North Carolina. North Carolina, the better of the teams according to the rankings, and they're at home. However, they're a 2.5-point underdog.
Interesting.
I don't ever like to bet against the home team. I did that with Duke on Thursday. They ended up beating Michigan. And I'm not going to do it against North Carolina here, but I'm also not as adventurous with this UNC team as I am with Duke.
Oh, by the way, that was a neutral site, right? That was in D.C.
Yes, technically, yeah, you're right, 100%. Yeah. You got that right. And there it is, right there, the Duke money line. They were still the home team in the game, but you're right, it was a neutral site. Yeah. And I actually didn't know that going in, so I kind of got lucky there. But this one, not a neutral site. And so I'm going to just get UNC to cover. Okay. Because I just don't love them enough as a team, but I also think at home, no way, right? No way they lose.
I think that's a nice, reasonable bet. And we're sitting here at 311, so all we need is Bartosz Solkowski to come up big because we know that Andrew's going to get his right. And let's just throw $100 on there.
Has it always been this low? Is this where our notepad has been the whole time? I was like, this looks familiar. Okay. And look, it registered right there.
The payout $411.30. There you go, right here.
$411.30.
Yeah. So that's what we get.
We'll take that.
Go Bartosz. That's our parlay. Coming up, we have Take It or Leave It plus Story Time with Uncle Randy. And today in sports history, it's coming up in the fight. All right, it's time for Take It or Leave It. And Andrew, yesterday in the NBA, I don't know if you saw this, the Golden State Warriors played without Steph Curry, without Draymond Green, and without Robert Porzingis. And they started a five of Al Horford, Moses Moody, Gui Santos, DeAnthony Melton, and Pat Spencer. All unforgettable names in the NBA, although give Al Horford some props. They played against the Nuggets, who got a triple-double from Nikola Jokic. And Golden State won 128-117. So take it or leave it. We have no idea what we're talking about when it comes to sports.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Nikola, I will too.
I mean, I think we're on a new wave of Golden State basketball since we don't have the big names in there anymore, and it's just a brand new starting five that have come from everywhere.
Yeah. Al Horford, Moses Moody, Gui Santos, DeAnthony Melton, and Pat Spencer against the Nuggets. So, wow.
Against the triple-double Jokic.
Yeah, and we have no idea.
And you lost.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Steve Kerr, man. He can coach.
Right. Well, Randy, also happening over the weekend, and that actually really started on Friday, but the state of Indiana unanimously passed a bill to lure the Bears to their side of the border. For anyone wondering, Hammond, Indiana, which is where they want to build the stadium, is essentially like moving a team from Kansas City, Missouri to Kansas City, Kansas. It's a 20-minute drive from Soldier Field. Take it or leave it, though. The Bears actually move out of the state of Illinois.
I am going to take it. Now, here's an interesting thing about this, though. Kansas City, Kansas is a place. There isn't a Chicago, Indiana.
No, there is not.
So if you're Indiana and you are giving the Bears $5 billion to build a stadium there, do you let them keep the name Chicago? Because this is more like, I think, the idea, you could rename the city Hammond to Chicago, but it's more like the Giants and Jets playing in New Jersey.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But
I think you leave
it's
the
not
team
New
name.
York.
I think you leave the team name. You don't mess with that because I
Okay.
think the fans of the Bears want a better in and out access to the stadium. They hate Soldier Field's location. They hate the parking. Even though Soldier Field's a beautiful stadium and you can see the cityscape of Chicago, they just hate the fan accessibility aspect of it all. But if you kept the name and you gave them exactly what they wanted, I do believe the Bears would move and take it. But for this case, I'm going to leave it. I don't think they're going to leave the state of Illinois.
Arlington Heights or Chicago?
I think they're going to stay in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
I think so. Deep down, I just have this weird feeling that this is all just a ploy.
And I think the new stadium will be 25 miles away from Soldier Field, so it's no biggie.
I would love it if they moved to Hammond because for somebody traveling from out of state, it's great for me to go to Hammond versus Chicago. So I would love to take it in that case.
If Chicago's not offering anything.
Then they're moving.
Indiana's,
$5 billion sounds a lot better than nothing.
Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, time for story time with Uncle Randy. We're going to spin the wheel. We're going to come up with a decade. We're going to come up with a sport. And we'll come up with a story for you. Andrew, by the way, wanted 90s football. Let's see where we go here.
I'm not even close.
We're going to have 1970s. And let's see what we have here. 1970s.
I had a 20% chance to get that right. I had a 25% chance to get this right.
1970s.
I couldn't be further away. Football down here,
yeah.
90s down here.
Yeah, that's pretty
All right,
bad.
we're doing 70s
Okay,
hockey.
1970s hockey. So I was getting into hockey, and during the 1970s, I wasn't really aware because I was just a kid when Scotty Bowman left for Montreal. But the Montreal Canadiens in 1973 brought up a young goalie by the name of Ken Dryden with only 6 games left in the regular season. And Scotty Bowman started playing him, and he kept winning and winning and winning. And Dryden, with only a few games, 2 weeks of regular season play under his belt, led the Canadiens to the Stanley Cup. And then he did it again. And the Canadiens wound up winning 5 Stanley Cups with Ken Dryden between the pipes. Now, they had great players. They had Guy Lafleur. They had Yvan Cournoyer. They had Steve Shutt. They had Guy Lapointe. They had Serge Savard. They were loaded with Hall of Famers. But the backstop was another Hall of Famer, number 29, Ken Dryden. And that's one of the most amazing runs ever. We talk about Binnington coming up here and getting his first start in January and going on the 11-game winning streak. How about coming up with, as a goalie, with about 2 weeks left in the regular season, getting about a half dozen games under your belt, and then leading your team to the Stanley Cup championship?
Yeah, that's amazing. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest point that you mentioned there was, yes, Montreal had a bunch of Hall of Famers in front of Dryden, but unless you have Dryden in net, who knows if the Canadiens win 5 Stanley Cups?
Yeah.
And we see that today with the Edmonton Oilers. They obviously have Hall of Famers that are playing in front of their goaltender, but they have never had a Hall of Fame goaltender in net. And what has happened? They haven't won the big game yet because they haven't had that guy. So yeah, Ken Dryden making magic happen for the Canadiens back in the 70s.
By the way, he just passed away last summer. Ken Dryden was the analyst and there's Ken Dryden right there. He was the analyst for Al Michaels in 1980 for the Miracle on Ice.
Great hair.
Yeah, and he was fantastic in the Canada Cup, one of the all-time greats. And there he is. And retired early, by the way, to become a lawyer. He left the game by the time he was about 30 years old, and could have had a few more Stanley Cups had he stayed with the Canadians.
Yeah, good on him. I also think it's so fun looking back at highlights and seeing the masks that they had to wear. Like those things weren't stopping anything from hitting you in the mouth.
No, it is amazing that more goalies weren't killed in the NHL before they had a mask. All right, that's story time with Uncle Randy. Now it's time for this date in sports history, and this was a shocking day in our social media history and in our society's history. In 2021, Tiger Woods crashed his car driving south of Los Angeles the day after the Genesis Invitational Tournament. His tournament, he injured both of his legs. He was driving to do a TV commercial with Drew Brees. And since that car accident, and by the way, he almost had a leg amputated, Tiger has started in 11 tournaments in 5 years. He's finished 4, he's missed the cut in 4, and he's withdrawn 3 times. And aside from an 18th place finish in the Hero World Challenge, his other tournament, it's a charity tournament, his best finish in the last 5 years is 45th in the Genesis in 2023.
Shaken is the best way to describe everybody's feeling.
Everybody thought he was going to die or was dead.
When everybody saw just the car, and you don't know the update on Tiger just yet, right? You just see the car first. You're like, oh yeah, we just lost Tiger Woods today. The fact that he is basically like a robot now, the fact that he can stand on his 2 legs and still play golf and put his body through the wear and tear of an 18-round, let alone a 4-day event like Tiger has done over, 8 different times, and now he's still talking about coming back. That guy is, I just don't think he's human.
No, and you think about, I think it's 8 back surgeries, 2 Achilles. He's had multiple ACL injuries. He had the broken leg in 2008, and obviously these leg injuries. He's had shoulders. You're right. He's kind of like the bionic man. It's remarkable that he can even get onto a course, let alone consider walking and playing well for 4 consecutive days.
Medical insurance companies hate that guy.
Oh, man, no doubt about it. And I would be surprised if he won again. I think we were very fortunate for him to win in 2019 at the Masters.
Yeah, maybe we'll see him win at the TGL.
Yeah,
indoor simulator action, and we could probably see him win there.
Hey, we're looking forward to today, Cardinal baseball here on Matrix Midwest at noon against Florida. And not only are we going to have that, but we're going to have 8 total spring training games. We're going to have games during the regular season, home Friday night games. And also, every day we're going to have fastball. That's a 1-hour condensed showing of the previous night's or day's Cardinal game. That'll be at noon and 4 the day after every Cardinal game.
And this is big. I saw a lot of people online saying, why weren't the first 2 spring training games televised? You had to have MLB TV if you wanted to watch those games. Tell your friends to go get an antenna now to watch the Cardinals. You can see a lot of games here on Matrix.
And you can literally buy an antenna for $10 at Target. All right, we're on every day here on Matrix Midwest and on the Matrix Midwest app at 5, 10, and then again at 7 in the next morning. And if you want to participate in the fight, log on to matrixmidwest.com, use the Character and Company drop-down menu and fill in the form, and we want you here on the show.
Searching for your next victim, huh?
I am, yep. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you being with us. For Andrew Rogers and our director, Tyler Klaus, I'm Randy Carricker. Have a magnificent Monday, and we'll see you next time.